Okay, so this is your art teacher, Mr. Aguilar, and we're going to be doing an exercise on 2 point perspective. So this is usually the second exercise that I do. It's a little bit more complicated. I do this thing called the 3D plus sign because it's a good way to show um, depth and three dimension of an object, still be cube, still be simple. I think it's a really good learning tool. So I'm going to start this. Everything's going to be color coded. I'm going to move fairly fast, counting on people can stop and pause the video and rewind. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to go over the different steps. I'm going to talk my way through this. Uh, Now, one thing before I get started, it's much easier to do this with a ruler, which I won't be using. So you'll have to see me move some lines around. So normally with the ruler, you just one point to the next, everything's fine, and you don't have to worry about it. So let's get over a few things. One, this is what we're building right here. This is our diagram. So the front view scene, that is one, two, and three, and then four is the bottom side, be this one. One, two, three, and four. And down here is our horizon line and our two vanishing points. Now for the template that I've saved as a PDF, you will have your main line, which is right here, and then you'll have a dot, which will tell you it's half the height of this, and then this is an additional full on length right here, and this will just help keep everyone uniform and consistent, so we don't have uh, different forms all over the place. So this is all about keeping it consistent so everyone's on the same page. So we're going to start with our guidelines. Now, your guidelines need to be your light lines. So when you're drawing with the pencil, you want to hold your pencil back here because this will give you the lighter lines. And when you want your darker lines, you simply move farther down your pencils. These are things we go over with the fundamentals of drawing. So I'm going to pick a color. I got to make sure I am in my strokes. Okay, and I'm going to keep these lines thinner than this line. So this is a 2 point. My guidelines, which are going to be colored, they're going to be 1 point. So all colored lines are guidelines, and all guidelines need to be light. Okay, only the black lines are going to be dark. So in order to start this, I want to go through from the vanishing point to the top. So I'm going to do that. Come back down here and go right through that bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing from the other side. I'm going to go from the vanishing point through the top and do that again. Okay, and then what happens is you get these intersections, and we're going to use these intersections to help make our drawing. So right now, I have these two intersections right here, which are basically going to be here and here. You can see those intersections here and here, and that's what's going to start us off. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start doing my object. So I'm going to switch to doing a thicker black line, and I got to lock my guides. So again, it's a little rough sometimes when I start off because I forget to do things, but we'll pick it up. So we're going to go straight up and down. So these lines are not going to our vanishing point. So any of your lines that are not linear, meaning they're not going to your vanishing point, they're either going to go straight up and down or straight across. So I'm going to go from this intersection and I'm going to go straight up until it hits. And I want it to be like this one. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I'm going to go straight up and down. Now I'm doing this on a computer because it allows me to color code. If I need to go back and show something in the classroom, I can go back and show it. Or if I did it by hand, anything you missed, you missed. You're not going to see it again. And it also allows me to have line variation, so a thicker line versus a thinner line to help make this visual easier. So now I need two more guidelines. So If you notice, the top and bottom are points, always go to a vanishing point. So if you look at the top and bottom of this line is going to the vanishing point on the left. And if you look at the top and bottom of this line is going to the vanishing point to the right. And what we want to do is we want to look at where is it not going. So right now, this point is not going to this vanishing point, and I need to make that happen. So I'm going to go from the vanishing point to the top, and I have the same thing here. I notice a little bit, there's a little bit off right there. I'm going to go fix that real fast. Uh, if you make a mistake, try to fix it right away. Don't wait because that's going to lead to more mistakes. So if you see something you drew a little bit off, just erase it, correct it, because the mistakes will compound. Okay, so we're going to keep going with the guides. I'm going to go do the other side. So again, I'm connecting. Right now, this one's going to the vanishing point to the left. I'm going to connect it to the vanishing point to the right. And what I have now is the top and bottom going to both the left and to the right vanishing point. The top and bottom going both to the right and to the left vanishing point. So everything's going to a vanishing point. Um, and then we have our new intersection, okay? And then this intersection, we're going to drop down. We're putting in this side right here, which is right over here. So again, we're going to be dropping this side. Again, we're making cubes. So I'm going to go back into my object. I'm going to make my lines. I'm going to use that intersection and I'm going to drop it straight down. It's also a little bit easier to be more accurate with the ruler. People might think it's easier with the computer. It's not really. I could do certain things faster, like shade, but it's actually much easier and faster to do it by hand with a ruler. So again, straight line, straight down. And I'm going to be repeating myself often. Okay, so right now, this bottom point is going to the right vanishing point, but it's not going to the left. And same thing here. This bottom point is going to the left vanishing point, but it's not going to the right. So I want to change that. And I'm going to go from the left to the right. And I'm going to go from the right to the left. So once again, all our lines need to go back to the vanishing point. So any line receding in space, which is our linear perspective lines, they have to go back to a vanishing point. And a little mistake there, put that over there, put that one down there. So over here in my panel, I'm just trying to keep the object and my guidelines separate. It makes things a little bit easier. So now we have our shape. So we're going to fill in these two cubes. We're going to fill in this one and this one. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a giant kind of an M shape. So that's the shape I want to make. I want to make this N shape. And I want to connect these two lines. Okay, so I'm going to connect all these two lines just to make things a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to go to the top. And again, I'm creating that M shape. So you'll see it right here, that M. And I'm going to do the same thing in the bottom. I'm going to do another M. And I'm going to connect everything. So this is where you grip your pencil lower, either to the middle or to the front. And you just create your darker lines or you switch pencils. So maybe you do your guidelines in a 2H pencil or a 4H pencil, and then you just switch to an HB or 2B to make these lines darker. So right now we have this side, this side, this side, and this side. We also have the bottom lines indicated. Before we go in and put these in though, what I want to do is I want to drop this line. So I'm going to go to my original line, which is right here. And I want to extend this line down to this point. Okay, and that's going to be the same length. And then I want to take this part and extend it up. And that's going to be about half the length because we're looking up. And we'll get into talking about a worm's eye view and how your perspective changes with the horizon line in just a minute. So now I have this set up. I have a couple of things. I have one point here that's not going to either vanishing point. That needs to change. I have another point up here that is not going to either vanishing point. That needs to change. So what I'd like to do is I like to put those guidelines in right now. And I'm going to switch colors again. So I'm going to go with this green. And that's just going to be for this one. And it's just really to help you guys visually so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to come up here, get to that point. And you really want to take your time when you're putting in your guidelines because you do again want things to be as accurate as possible. Um I'll lock my guides. Okay, so now I have most things constructed. There's a few things that I need to add. Like I need to add the bottom. How do I find the bottom? Well, we got to drop our lines again. So here's another intersection, here's another intersection, and we just got to drop those lines. When you're drawing something in perspective, especially if it's going in multiple directions, you want to have some kind of reference. You want to have an idea of what you're doing. In this case, I'm already giving you a 3D representation that we're creating, but you really want to see what we're doing. So now I'm going to darken in some of my lines to make this easier to see. Um, and things should become clear when you start looking at this. And again, let me miss this point. And I'm going to change a few settings real fast. So you see these little hangers that are coming off. That's because of how the paths are set. So I'm just going to fix that really fast. So I get rid of those points that are coming off. That makes things much better. Again, I want to give you guys the best visual representation. So this time what I did is I created a W, right? Then we need to drop our lines straight down. So I'm going to do that. So again, you want to go straight up and down. You want to avoid having your lines being at like an angle. You want to be straight up and down and straight across. You do not want these lines to be any funky angles. Okay, and we're going to darken in the rest of the lines. Check, make sure all our points are in the right spots. I'm a little off right here. And this is the down part about doing it digitally is sometimes your points are off. You just have to move them around. We need to darken these two lines. So we're going to darken this line forming this triangle, darken this line forming that triangle, and that's going to give us our top. So right now, as it stands, we have finished 3 of these. So we finished the top part, the part to the left, the part to the right, and we're almost done with the bottom part. We got to come here. So I like doing this because I have to repeat stuff over and over again. So again, this point here is going to the vanishing point to the left, but it is not going to the vanishing point to the right. And this one is going to the right, but it's not going to the left. So we need to fix that. So I'm going to go back to the original blue, and we're going to go ahead and put those in. So again, I'm just going to go from left to right, and then I'm going to go from right to left, and you'll see where those lines intersect. You have the bottom of that cube. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and darken that in now. Okay, and what we're now missing is we're missing the two cubes or the two sections going back into space. So we're missing these two. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half and just drop a line. Same thing, I'm going to cut this in half and drop a line. So I'm going to come in here and just drop it. And I'm going to do the same thing to this other side. I'm going to cut it in half and simply drop it. And what I need to do now is connect these to the guideline. So once again, this point is going to the left, but it's not going to the right. And this point is going to the right, but it's not going to the left. So you see how we're doing this repetition over and over again. And I'm going to go back to the reds so you guys can see that. And we're going to go from this point to the next. Doing these exercises, they're meant for you to start learning and understanding perspective. Like, this isn't anything great or fantastic. You know, we're not creating a city or a building. What we're just learning is the principles of how to use 2 point perspective, how to apply linear perspective, and doing something like this means we have to do a lot of repetition, and that's how we're going to learn more. So what I want to do now is I basically just want to darken these lines in and darken these lines in over here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So again, we're going to connect the dots here. Okay, and that all looks pretty good. I'm going to take off the guidelines, something I can't do with the pencil drawing, and you see the shape that we have. So what we need to do next is we need to add our values and we need to pick a light source. So over on this one, my light source is to the upper right. So what I like to do is I like just to put a light source up in the upper right so you guys can see it too. And let's make this like this yellow orange. Um, so here's going to be my light source. Okay, so that star is going to represent my light source. And that means light's going to travel and hit on this side, and then on the opposite side and below it, the light's not going to hit it. So that's going to be our darker values. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to speed up. I'm going to speed up the film. I'm going to put the values in because that's going to take a minute and we don't want to extend this video any longer than we have to. So, like I said, I'm speeding up this part of the footage about 500 times the speed, or 5 times the speed, I should say. And all I'm doing is adding the darker values underneath. Now, one thing you'll notice really quickly is as you add value, you really make this object look three-dimensional. So, couple of things. One, you have to draw something as being three-dimensional. Two, you have to add values that interact with the light source to really sell that it is three-dimensional. And then the third aspect, which we're not going to do, would be dropping shadows. So if you put this in an environment, it needs to have shadows to go along with it. So I did this really quick, and I'm going to put the finished examples at the end of this. Again, I encourage you guys, if you miss any days or if you're doing this on your own, stop and pause, look at it at your own pace, and maybe watch the video one time over, or look at the end product and see the uh, examples that I provided. So I provided one where it's just filled in. I also provided another one that has all the guides with it.